were you when I
I
was
know.
buying and flipping 300 properties
I
and had
know.
to get my real estate license and I had to join the board to get able to have access to
I
get
know.
comps and
I
oh my,
know.
if that existed, 300 would have been 3,000. Hey everybody, my name's Steve Wible. I'm this team lead, director of sales, whatever you want to call me at CreditSuite Incorporated. We are the authority on building business credit. Who cares? Here's what matters. I've got a unique background, like all of you, love real estate, like really love real estate. What I love about real estate investors is one, you're not risk averse, and two, you are all visionaries. You get to look at something that's a wreck and picture what it's going to look like when it's finished. And I love that about real estate investors. So I bought my first property. As a matter of fact, it was 35 properties, one shot, standing on a street corner. Flipped 50% of those that paid off the other half, and then began scaling. And one of the reasons I was able to scale so quickly to 300 properties in 2 years is I didn't use my personal credit for things that made no sense for me to use my personal credit for. I was able to remove my day-to-day operational costs from my personal credit and my cash flow and throw them onto my business credit profile. So first thing people think is, well, what's a business credit profile? What are you talking about? I have credit. I have a 750 credit score. Well, what you may or may not realize is if you are an LLC or better, I'm talking about LLC, S corporation, not a partnership, not a sole proprietor. It has to have an EIN. It has to be what we call a standalone individual. So an LLC, S corp, C corp. C corp is truly the only corporation. If you own a business, it has a business credit profile. If there's nothing on there, they actually give you a bad credit report. Not like us, right? As individuals, when we turn 18 years old and we have nothing reporting, we get what, and you've all heard this, no beacon. You have no score, right? You have no credit, you have no score. That's no beacon. That's not negative or positive. In the business credit world, if you have nothing reporting, they actually give you a negative score. It's not your fault. What they're basically saying is, hey, this entity's a little weak. Nobody's done business with them. Nobody's trusted them to give them credit. I wouldn't trust them either. Matter of fact, we only recommend about $1,000 credit line. We being the credit reporting agencies. But as you begin adding trade lines and things reporting to your business credit, that actually scales up and scales up quickly. And we'll dive into some of that and some of the things that they're looking for to be able to get the credit and the type of credit you can actually use to scale your real estate business because nobody's here to find out how to get a cell phone, right? What you want to know is how can I scale my real estate business and protect my personal credit? I'm going to show you what your business will look like to a lender. So fundability is basically the brainchild of our CEO or our COO, excuse me. Um, and it's what it is software that gathers information from all the available locations to tell you what your business looks like to lenders. But what I want to give you all today, and I want you to all have a pen and paper or your notepad or whatever you're going to take notes. I'm going to show you some of the foundational items that people screw up right away. Because in the business credit world, when lenders and creditors look at your business, what they're looking for truly is fraud. They're trying to decide whether or not your business is a real business or a fraudulent business. And the only way they could do that is through these fundability factors, hence our business being called, our software being called fundability. So they're going to look for certain items. Not crazy complicated. There's about 175 of them, but the foundational, the basic ones are right here. And the first thing I'm going to start with is the one that is probably the most controversial. Because if you're a real estate investor, especially a buy and hold, and I was both, I did flipped and bought and held, is a lot of people like to bury who they are, like to be hidden through screens, right? So they get these Wyoming corporations, and they like to hide who the actual owner is. So the business address is a big deal when getting credit. So if you're trying to protect yourself, your identity through going through a Wyoming corporation or something along those lines, and you want to bury yourself behind multiple layers, I get it from a tax point of view. However, you will never build business credit with that corporation because they can't find you, they can't trust you. You being the corporation, right? They don't know who's running it, they don't know if it's got real revenue, they don't know if it's fraudulent. So I bring this up because I have a lot of real estate investors that do exactly that, and they want to build business credit. So I tell them to start a different LLC and call it a credit LLC. And that LLC's only job is to build business credit, right? That LLC's only job is to borrow money from Backflip. That you get it? So you set up a borrowing LLC that builds a credit profile. That way you can still have your cake and eat it too. You can still bury your buy and holds behind whatever veil you want to hide them behind. But you can again build business credit. Because the problem is IRS law states you cannot have your EIN registered at your registered agent's office. EIN has to be, when you apply for your EIN, the person that signs for it, you have to use either your home address or your business address, not a registered agent's address. So the minute there's a mismatch, you're going to get denied for credit. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, question from Benjamin asks, is a PO box as good as a normal address?
No, I'm going to tell you why.
It's
not. Here's why. Now, what you can use, just so you know, is you can use something called a virtual address, which is basically a PO box, but it's a legitimate business address. And here's why, Benjamin, a PO box is problematic. I'm going to reverse it on you. Are you a buy? Let me stop sharing because I love this conversation. Are you a buy and hold, Benjamin? Do you buy and hold your properties, or are you flipping your properties? I hope you say buy and hold. So let's assume you're both. Perfect.
Both.
Great. Okay. So I want to rent one of your properties, Benjamin. And when I fill out the credit application, I put down that my address is a PO box. My email is I'm never going to pay you at yahoo.com. How comfortable are you feeling about renting that house to me? Probably not real good, right? So exactly.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from a creditor's point of view, so now let's reverse that. You walk into Home Depot and you want to get a $50,000 credit line with Home Depot, and you put down a PO box and your email is I like to buy houses at AOL.com. How much do you think they're actually going to give you in credit? Very little, because you don't look professional. You don't look like you're truly in business. PO box is one of the worst things you could do. I understand why you would want to do it, because you don't want people to know where you live, especially as a landlord. Get yourself a virtual office. Let's give you the people I would trust. Alliance Virtual Offices, Da Vinci Virtual Offices, or Regus, REGUS. Alliance and Regus are guaranteed in every single state in the country and probably within 50 miles of where you live. Now, be careful. Don't go running out of the webinar and go get a new address, because when you do that, the IRS has to have that address. Your bank has to have that address. Your website should have that address. Everything about you that the public can find has to have that address. You 100% have to have a business bank account. You cannot use a personal bank account. And it has to have the address that your business is registered in. You're not in business if you don't have a business bank account. You're just not. You have a business phone. Here's another place real estate investors fail. So a business phone, now they're getting a little more lax on this now, but I still like virtual phone numbers like Ring Central. Ring Central is a really good one. Not Google. Now, you say, why won't you use Google? I love Google Voice. I use Google Voice on every one of my properties. Loved it. But I wouldn't put it on a credit application because Google owns that phone number. Even if you're renting it, it's Google's phone number. You can't take that with you. If you go to Ring Central, you get a phone number, you can actually keep that number. Okay, that's your phone number. So what I would do is get a main phone number, and I would make it an 800 number, just so you know. Again, we want to look legitimate to a lender, to a creditor. We want to look legitimate. Big businesses, does Backflip have an 800 number?
Yep.
Exactly. CreditSuite has an 800 number, 877. So you're going to want to get an 800 number and just have it forward to your cell phone. So professional email is important for a credit application. If you have your own URL, your own website, add on the email, and then do what's called a catch-all. A catch-all means anything. I could say Mariah, it's sold in 73 days. I could say, cell phone at 73, sold in 73 days. It all comes to that catch-all. So I would put info at. That would forward to whatever email I was using, because it just looks more professional, right? That's how a legitimate company operates, and lenders and creditors know that. So if they see, God forbid, who's the last person to speak, Jonathan at Jonathan buys houses at AOL.com, that's going to be a problem. Business license. Not everybody requires a business license. And here's what I mean. Not every state, not every city. However, a business license like in Florida is $150, right? All it is just you're legitimizing yourself to the state, right? So it's $150, but it is a big deal in the credit world. So even if you're not required to get a business license, I always recommend that you do. And then business industry, this is where people get jacked up too. So anybody here know what a NIAX code is? Probably not. Used to be called an SIC code, right? So that's basically the IRS's or DMV's way of recognizing your industry type, right? So the thing of it is, you have to pick the one that makes the most sense for you. In other words, don't lie, but you also want it to be as vanilla as possible, right? So as a joke, I picked code 11219, which is Chinese pea farming, bedding plant, and seed production. So it can get that specific, right? So what you want to do, and you can even go to ChatGPT and look this up. Hey, what's the best NIAX code? NIAX is NAICS code for real estate investing. It will give you multiples. You want to find the most vanilla version of what it is. You don't want to get super hyper specific because you would be, real estate investors are considered high risk industry. That's the whole reason Backflip exists. That's the whole reason that industry exists, because they needed to fill a void because lenders don't like us. So that's your basic foundation, just your basic foundation. That'll get you at least on the right track to getting a business credit profile. Now, the problem is if you've been in business for a while, and I'm sure this is going to come up later in the questions, what do? I had this address and I've got this other address, and now the credit reporting agencies, all fixable, all easily fixable. Don't panic. Okay. Now, I do want to give you a couple of other pieces of insights. The first is going to be, let's grab your personal credit. Who here knows who the CIA of credit reports is? There you go. Yvette got it, nailed it. LexisNexis, that's right. LexisNexis knows everything about you, and unfortunately, a lot of it's not good. In other words, not accurate. And most people have no idea. So you need to pull your LexisNexis report, right? And you need to do that, I suggest, annually. I bring this up because LexisNexis feeds information to not only your personal credit, but to the business credit reporting agencies as well. So you can't lie. All that information's out there. All right. That's why all this artificial intelligence is denying people or approving people instantly. You've all had this happen. You apply for a credit card online and you're instantly approved. They pull that information from multiple places. One of them is LexisNexis. One of them is check systems. So don't bounce your checks. They're going to check your bankruptcies, liens, judgments, etc. Your personal credit score, and you obviously want to make sure your personal credit's protected. Now, the whole point of building business credit is to protect your personal credit. So I'm going to give you an example of how you can leverage business credit. We touched on buying your vehicles in your name, but not everybody's out to buy a vehicle today. But everybody in this room gets in their car and drives to look at properties, unless they buy out of state. But most of them will drive to buy a property. Well, when you fill your tank with gas and you pull out your debit card or your personal American Express card, you are leveraging your personal credit to build your business. Here's the problem with that, and I've seen it 100 times. As your business grows, your personal credit will never be able to be large enough to scale your company. There was no way I could buy 35 properties my first deal. Couldn't do it. How was I going to do that personally, right? I didn't have the money, just, I didn't have the cash. I found a hard money lender who did it. They pulled my personal credit, but obviously I didn't leverage my personal credit. It went in the company name. And that's a requirement. I built up my score, my business credit score, and I saw some questions I'm going to answer through our speech here, or through our conversation. And I went and I applied for my first line of credit at Home Depot. Now, I wasn't sure. I went in there fully prepared to personally guarantee it. Didn't want to do it, but I was fully prepared. And there's a reason I wanted to do this, Mariah. Um, and I asked them to run my business credit. I left my social security. I left the social blank. Now, things have changed since I started. Now they're going to ask for your social for identification purposes only. And you have to state that. But back then, if you filled in the social, they were running your credit. So I left it blank, asked them to run it. They came back, they said, you're approved. I think my first line was 5 grand, maybe 10. Um, I immediately, anybody who knows Home Depot and Lowe's knows they're across the street from each other or down the street from each other. They're always right around the corner from each other. I immediately went over to Lowe's and got approved for the same thing. So now I got two. Now I got 20,000. The houses I was buying were row homes. Anybody familiar with row homes? What a row home is? I bet you are, Mariah, right?
Very much so.
So I could rehab an entire row home for about $15,000 if I didn't have to replace the windows, if I didn't have to replace the heater and air conditioner. But that included kitchens and baths, the whole deal. And because they were all similar, I made it was just automatic. It was like an assembly line. I got really, really good at it. Now, I told you I got 10 grand from each. So I got $20,000 in credit to buy supplies, tools, hired a couple of handyman, put them on staff, and went to town. And I would borrow money from a hard money lender like Mariah, like Backflip, and I wouldn't even use their construction money. I'd let them hold it back. I didn't care because I let Home Depot and Lowe's finance it. My employees would do the actual work. Sometimes I would get in and do the work too. Some of you were probably contractors. And then when it was done, I didn't ask for my draws. I would go at the very end and be like, it's done, give me my draw. And let's say it was 30 grand. I would take that 30 grand. Now the house is up for sale, mind you, at this point, because it's rehabbed. And back then, this is 2001 through 2008, 9, houses were selling in a week. So I take your 30 grand, Mariah, and I'd go put, let's say, 5,000 down on 6 more properties. And then I'd come to you, I got 6 more deals for you, and I'd have 5,000 already in the game. The whole thing was only worth 75 grand, so I would borrow whatever it was. Anyway, that's how I scaled. And I thought my hard money lender was going to be upset at me doing this. They were not only not upset, they asked me to teach other investors that they were lending money to, right? Then they had me actually underwriting deals for them. Like, hey, go look at this property because they knew that my deals were good. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't understand how to leverage business credit. Now, why is that important? Because for every 2 that I flipped, I kept 1. Right? I have 3, flip 2, keep 1. And it wasn't because I wanted to own that one cash. I don't believe in owning houses outright. I never did. I always believe in leveraging money if the interest rates are right. So I would have to refi it in my name, at least temporarily. So I've got to keep my personal credit good, right? I've got to get out of that hard money loan, which what are rates now? I'm just curious. What are rates now, roughly?
Yeah, it depends on experience, like 10 to 13%.
Oh my God, I would have kissed you. I paid 18%.
Wow.
18%.
Wow.
Yeah. But no
Ouch.
points. No, maybe 2 points.
Okay.
But anyhow, so I would refi them. Obviously, I want to get out of the hard money loan. I'd refi it. And then once I hit 10 properties, I'd put a commercial loan on the whole thing. And I get them out of my name. Even though I personally guaranteed them, they were still in the company name. The company had really good business credit. I personally guaranteed it, but it was in the company name. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. If you get a commercial loan in the company name, even if you personally guarantee it, it's not reporting on your personal credit. It's gone. It's now in the company name. It may or may not report on your company's business credit report, but it's not going to report on yours. And if things go haywire like they did in 2008, 2009, you've got a little bit of leverage. Even though you personally guaranteed it, most commercial banks aren't interested in that. They just want to get the asset back or get it off their books. But I walked away clean. I have 0 foreclosures on my record. 0, none, not one.
Wow.
Other than my personal house. I was at one time bringing in almost $300,000 in rent a month. Unfortunately, values went from 90,000 down to 15,000 like overnight. And then the only problem with commercial loans is they can't call on the note if they feel like they're at risk. But either way, I walked away with clean credit. Now, how did I do that? Because obviously the houses, but what about all the other stuff? All the cars. I had 4 vehicles. 4. I had employees. I had an office that was in the company name. I had American Express cards. Every single one of my employees had an American Express card. Every single one of my employees had a Home Depot card. Everyone had a Lowe's card. Everyone had an Nextel phone. Like you start thinking about it, gas cards. There was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that I was working with to run my business, and none of it was in my name. If you'd pull my personal credit, let's say I was going to apply for a loan with you at Backflip, you'd pull my credit soft pull, just take a look, make sure we're good. You'd be like, Steve, do you even borrow money? No, I didn't. If it didn't make me money, I didn't borrow it. The company did. Now, one of the number one things I hear is that's difficult to do, Steve. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. What's great about what we do, and one of the reasons I work for this company is I truly believe in their product, is they will not only show you how to set your business up the right way, they'll take you through and they'll show you how to get the credit that you're looking for. So if I go to, I don't know, business funding, and I want to get, and by the way, there's some other funding we could talk about too, but let me get to the vendor credit. So here you go. So our system's built so that it only shows you who you're going to be approved for. Now, why is that important? Because there's nothing more time wasting than applying for credit with somebody and getting denied and not knowing why. Because the thing about the business credit world is they don't have to tell you. Here's how it works. I apply with Mariah. Mariah says, you're denied, come back in 90 days and try again. Well, why did I get denied? I don't know. Apply again. They're not required. It's not like consumer credit where they're required to tell you why they turned you down. They are not required. Because and here's what a turn down looks like. Hey, we're going to need your social security number. That means they're saying the business is getting turned down. We need you to personally guarantee this. So our system knows what the underwriting criteria is for all of this credit and will only show you what you'll be approved for. So now this is a demo account, so I've got everything opened up, but if I start scrolling down, and those are my New Jersey and Pennsylvania friends know who this is, and Wawa, and my Florida friends. So I can take this, and if I keep going down, I'm going to be approved for everything. Anybody want credit with Home Depot? That's not personally guaranteed. Let's keep going. Oh, look right next door, Lowe's. And want credit with Lowe's? How about all these gas cards are ridiculous, but how about Sherwin-Williams? If you want to paint a house, right? You can get credit with Sherwin-Williams. You can get credit with Amazon if let's say you're doing an Airbnb, right? And you want to decorate the house, great place to get credit from, right? Trying to think of, how about Ford? I actually drove an F-250 diesel financed in Ford, in the company name with Ford. PNC Bank. These are all people that will issue your business credit. Oh, here's one I love. I still have this card. I still have this card. Sam's Club. You're like, Sam's Club? What would you buy at Sam's Club? I didn't care. Sam's Club is a revolving MasterCard that I can use anywhere I want. So it's a true MasterCard, right? So, and they issue that with no personal guarantee, and the limits are high. And so when people say, what am I going to do with business credit? Do you use a laptop to sign contracts? How about having Dell give you one on credit without a personal guarantee? All of these people will give you credit, all of them. Business credit reporting agencies never report the name of the company you have credit with, ever. Ever. It will always be the industry that company is in. So Home Depot and Lowe's will both report as hardware supply. It won't report as Home Depot. It won't report as Lowe's. It will be hardware supply. Why is that important? Because if Quill reports to D&B, Experian, and Equifax, that gives you 3 trade lines for the price of 1. Because lenders don't know that that's the same vendor. They just see you have credit with a supplier that's reporting here, here, and here. And it takes about 15, 14 trade lines to get the vehicle financing, to get into those revolving credit cards, to get the things that you want, right? That people all crave, even though they skip over the good stuff. That's what they all want. Well, you don't necessarily need 14, you just need 14 trade lines. The hard part about building business credit is finding people who actually report. All right. Now, here's what I will tell you. Only 7% of creditors actually report on the business credit profiles because it's expensive. Okay. They only 7% report positive payments. Want to guess what percentage of creditors report bad payments? 100%. They all do.
Yeah.
Because it costs them money to do it. But they at this point, they want to wreck you because you didn't pay them. So there's so much more that I can talk about.
Steve, this has been incredible.
It's all right.
You're just like a perfect case study, speaking exactly to what everyone here is doing. So this has been amazing.
I appreciate you all spending time with me. I know it's not always fun to listen to people, the talking heads talk. Hopefully I gave you some all real value. If I did, give me some thumbs up so I know that I didn't screw you up. Thanks,
Oh,
everybody.
good. Yeah.